Yo, what's going on, guys? Jack here from On the Spot Sports, and I'm along with,
Tyler from On the Spot Sports.
and welcome to 2020. This will be our first episode of 2020. Sorry that we've been gone for the past 3 weeks, I believe it was. It's been the holiday season has gotten us really busy, so we tried to work out a few times, but every time we tried to find a time, one of us would be busy, so that was pretty hard to pick, but we finally found some time right now. So, Tyler, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Looking forward to this episode. It's been a while. So, looking forward to catching up on all the action from whatever we get down to. So, this should be fun.
Yeah, for sure. It's good that you're doing good. The new year just came in, 2020. So, happy New Year's to all of you guys. This year we'll bring a lot more. We'll get a lot more episodes in, and we have a ton of new guests coming on for interviews. We already got two in the making right now in the next few weeks. I won't go into details about that though because it's a secret right now. But it's you don't want to miss it. And We're also going to do some different sports too, like different episode for sports. Like usually have been football and basketball recently, but we'll get into hockey soon, baseball when it comes closer to that time. Like any sport really that you guys want us to do, just comment below and we'll do it somehow. And we'll do it. We're also going to try to get some different sports for different players from different sports on. So far, it's just been pretty much hockey. So, but it's my favorite sport, so I'm fine with it. But we're working on some other players too from different sports. So it's gonna be a fun year. 2019 was a good year for us, but the 2020 will be a lot better, a lot more stuff coming, a lot more quality, and it's gonna be a fun year. And you guys do not want to miss it. So, and I also want to give a shout out to everyone who we've had on for 2019, including Andrew Freeman from Common Sense Sports, Frank Zarowski, Cub Marcio, and Sauce Sartori from Miscalled Podcast. Then Jamie Phillips from the Manitoba Moose and Coventry Blaze, and Rudy Hodgson from DePaul Blue Demons, and Eric Levine from the Peoria Rivermen. It's been a fun time talking to them, getting interviews in, and talking about Peoria. Tyler and I recently just went down to Peoria to see Eric play, and so that was an experience, wasn't it, Tyler?
Oh, it was great. Love seeing guys that we interview and who come on. Love watching them play. I thought it was a great experience, and hopefully that will not be the last time that we go and see Eric play.
Yeah, it definitely will not be the last one. Peoria won that game 5-2. Eric made 29 saves on 31 shots, I believe it was. So it was a great game for him. Happy for him. And we'll be sure to get down to some of the other guys that we interviewed games. I know we will probably go to DePaul soon, see Rudy play. So that'll be fun. But let's get into episode 18, and we're going to be talking about the NFL season since it just ended, and since the regular season just ended, Week 17 recap, maybe some playoff predictions. So let's get into it.
For sure, brother. Let's go.
All right, so where do you want to start?
You can start. You can start.
All right, so since Week 17 just ended, let's talk about Week 17. Week 17 was interesting to say the least. A lot of good games coming out of that. It was actually a pretty high scoring game, and there's some games that you would not expect some teams to win, but they ended up winning. So, but let's talk about some of these games. So First off, we got to start with the Dolphins and Patriots. Dolphins beat the Patriots 27-24. How do you feel about that?
If I'm New England, I'm honestly a little disappointed because even though it's a team that we could say the Dolphins have struggled pretty much all year. Yes, you can say they've started to pick it up more recently. That is true. But this is a must-win game for the Patriots. I mean, even though you're 12-3, you don't really have much to play for, you still want to guarantee yourself that first-round bye. And I thought the Patriots were obviously going to start everyone, which they did, but I thought they were going to take care of business. And given the fact that they were playing in Foxborough, which has been extremely helpful for them, I mean, over the last how many years, this would be a no-brainer. Patriots would win, and that's it. But this Miami Dolphins team, I don't know what's gotten into them, but there's been a spark there for a while, and Ryan Fitzpatrick has been doing some pretty cool things for them. And they came, they saw, they conquered. And New England, that is a really disappointing loss for them, obviously. Nobody saw that coming. And for Miami, a season that was rumored to be one of the worst ever in NFL history turned into a somewhat better result. And, with the positive outcomes for them this late in the season, they are going into the draft next year with about 2 or 3 first-round picks saying, man, we could just get better from here. It could only go up. So Miami, I think you have to be very optimistic about what you can see. Obviously still not going to be a contender, but definitely better than 5-11, I think, is what they were hoping for. And for next season, and this season, I mean, 5 wins is a huge plus. Like I said, they were rumored to have one of the worst NFL seasons ever, and they turned the ship around and get 5 wins, and capping it off with a big victory in Foxborough against the Patriots, knocking off the Patriots' first-run bye chances. So you got to be very disappointed for the Patriots in this game.
Yeah, I'm very disappointed in the Patriots. I would expect this to be an easy win for the Patriots, especially since they have that bye, like the bye on the line. So, but the Dolphins have been playing really good the second half of the season. So, like, at the beginning of the season, I thought they'd have, like, maybe 1 or 2 wins. I wouldn't think of the Miami Dolphins going 5-11. I'd think about them going, like, 1-15 or something like that, 2-14, something like that. But they really turned it up a notch and gave the Patriots a run and ended up beating them. So the Patriots don't have that bye anymore, which is unfortunate for them, but they should be able to beat the Titans, I believe.
Yeah, we'll see. I think, who knows? I've got a couple of interesting predictions for this weekend wildcard games. You'll want to stay tuned for that as well.
Yeah, and there's some wild predictions going on here. We'll get back to that later.
Oh, one more thing though about this Dolphins team, I got to give tons of credit to Ryan Fitzpatrick coming in here and a veteran quarterback in another bad situation, but he's making the most with his team. And incredibly, he is the leading rusher this season for the Miami Dolphins, and I believe 200-something yards, led the team in rushing yards, and led the team in rushing touchdowns.
That's not something you hear every day.
It's definitely not, and I believe the leading rusher for Miami was about 200, almost 300 yards. So you could just make out what the running back situation has been this year. I mean, they've had injuries all over the place with trading. Oh, and also trading away their original starter in Kenyon Drake to the Cardinals. They've also suffered injuries with Kalen Ballage going on the IR. Another misfortune was Mark Walton Jr., their other running back. They released him due to a domestic violence report, and it was rumored that there was another case going on with him. 2 separate incidents with Mark Walton. The Dolphins have just been beat up at running back this year, and Ryan Fitzpatrick has provided them with very little support, as much as a quarterback can do, honestly, from his capacity. And I feel like every team he goes to or has gone to, he's shown what he's capable of, given that the situation is not great. So I got to give a lot of credit to the one and only Ryan Fitzmagic.
Yeah, for sure. He's done a heck of a job to bring bring back the Dolphins compared to where they were, like 6, 7, 8, 9 weeks ago.
Absolutely.
And he really turned the tables for them, and really made a big stance for them, especially going into next year.
Absolutely. 100% agree with that.
You want another game to go to?
Definitely. And I think this one, I'm glad you didn't bring this one up because this is the one I want to talk about. It was flexed to Sunday Night Football. The 12-3 San Francisco 49ers went on the road to play the 11-4 Seattle Seahawks in what would determine the NFC West Division champion. For the 49ers, the implications would determine if they were the number 1 seed. For Seattle, it would determine a number 3 seed and a home game in the wild card round. 49ers would also drop the wild card if the Seahawks would win. But that was not the case. The 49ers edged the Seahawks 26-21 in what might be one of the most thrilling and controversial finishes of this season. Now, 49ers had a big lead going into this one. They were up 26-14 in the fourth quarter. Seattle comes back, scores another touchdown, and Seahawks, they're looking like they're going to come back. But first and goal at the 1, the 49ers come up absolutely huge. Although there was a missed pass interference call on the 49ers on third and goal, the other plays, the 49ers defense were absolutely unstoppable. And the red zone, man. 49ers, arguably one of the most underrated defenses coming into this season, and they show their worth, silencing this home crowd and silencing the Seahawks and the return of their franchise running back in the 2010s, Marshawn Lynch. Great win by the Seahawks, and what a stop on fourth and goal to get them to the 1-yard line and secure this NFC West title.
Yeah, you meant great win by the 49ers, right?
What did I say?
Seahawks.
Oh, yeah. Yep. 49ers all the way.
Yeah, it was a great win by the 49ers. I kind of expected the 49ers to win this one, but I didn't think that the Seahawks would come back and make it a pretty close game.
Yeah, honestly, same here. I went with the 49ers. I wasn't sure who to pick on this one, but in the end, I think I was going for the 49ers in this one. Seattle is one of those teams when I feel like they get down very, very late, something happens, and either the defense starts lining up or their offense starts clicking, and they come back, and they could either win it or they come very close. And Sunday night was one of those nights where it was a matter of inches for Jacob Hollister to get in the end zone and put them up by 1 and possibly 2 at the extra point, or even 3 with the 2-point conversion. But it was inches in which the 49ers stopped them on fourth and goal and secured, like I said, not only the number 1 seed in the NFC, but the NFC West division title.
That's something to be proud of. And talking about an elite quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo, I think he really proved that he's an elite quarterback right now. He had an unreal season. This dude can play.
Definitely. 18 of 22, 285 yards. Jimmy Garoppolo, though, is a very solid quarterback. But let's take a look first at the 49ers offensive line, who constantly gives him great pass protection and great blocking of field for running game. The reason I think a lot behind Garoppolo's success is the 49ers have one of the best offensive lines in the league, and you don't really see that from a lot of teams nowadays. Their offensive line isn't a strong point, but for the 49ers, they're one of the few teams that we can say their blocking and their pass rushing is absolutely crucial. I'm sorry, their pass defense.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely crucial. And Garoppolo obviously thrives with getting these protection and deliver some serious strikes.
Yeah, for sure. It was also an elite quarterback. Russell Wilson for the Seahawks. He's also, I'd consider, an elite quarterback. Especially, even though the numbers didn't show this like game, but he's still an elite quarterback in my eyes, and he could still play.
Yeah, I guess against a very elite defense in the 49ers, who, like I said, showed up in a very tough environment to play against. I mean, I've been hearing Seattle is one of the toughest environments to play in, and they showed up huge in this one.
Absolutely. They're both going to be good playoff teams to watch this in the postseason. It's going to be a fun postseason for them.
Oh, for sure. For sure, 49ers get to wait another week. Seahawks play this weekend, and we will talk about the wild card round in a little bit.
All right, so I got another game, and this is something I did not expect. The Cincinnati Bengals ended up beating the Cleveland Browns 33-23. Cleveland Browns ended up going 6-10, whereas the Cincinnati Bengals went 2-14. This was an interesting game, to say the least. I did not expect Cincinnati, a 1-14 team, to come up on top against the Cleveland Browns here. There's also a lot to talk about the Cleveland Browns right now, since a lot has been circulating across the league.
Oh, definitely. Even though this game didn't really matter for playoff-wise, it's still an in-state rivalry, division rivalry. You can never take these games lightly, and the Bengals were just a better team that day. I mean, they locked up the number one pick in the draft already, and they said, you know what, nothing to lose. They go in and play a pretty good game against a just struggling Browns team. Expectations were extremely high for this team this year, and I mean that the expectations were not even close to being met. In no way possible were the expectations met for the Browns. And like I said before, I don't really know how it solved anything for trading for one wide receiver in Odell Beckham Jr. That really did not change anything. And even more interestingly was Odell Beckham Jr. was not even the team's leading receiver this season. It was Jarvis Landry, wide receiver 2. Browns, they've got a lot of questions heading into this offseason. Now, as they fired head coach Freddie Kitchens just moments after their loss on Sunday, and they also fired GM John Dorsey on Tuesday, I believe. There are some serious questions regarding the state of the Browns franchise next season. A new coach, a new GM, and a new beginning is in store for the Browns.
Sometimes you just need a fresh start, and I believe next year is going to be that fresh start, and maybe they could do something, but they need to fix a lot before next season if they want to actually do something. And it will definitely be interesting with coaching and GM positions next year.
Definitely. Front office is obviously number one priority, as long as head coach. On the field, though, I will say the number one priority is the offensive line. And I also feel like, along with the 49ers, that is the reason why Baker Mayfield did not succeed a lot this season, because the Browns' offensive line was not pretty. Not pretty at all. Complete opposite to what we just talked about in Jimmy Garoppolo and the 49ers. Jimmy Garoppolo got some great pass protection and some great time, and was able to, like I said, to thrive in that offense, deliver some strikes. Baker Mayfield was the exact opposite. Did not have a lot of time to throw the ball, had to scramble for his life. That's not Mayfield. He's a pocket-type passer, as we saw at the University of Oklahoma. They got to build this offensive line for Mayfield to really thrive and deliver. Because, I mean, they got Odell Beckham Jr. and Jarvis Landry, 2 great receivers who, if he gets in protection, I think the Browns could be just as dangerous. And the running back situation, Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, is a amazing duo. I just think the offensive line needs to be rebuilt. And obviously, with the new head coach and the new GM, I'm sure they will very much attempt to do that.
Yeah, for sure. And if you look at the numbers between Baker Mayfield and Andy Dalton, during this game, you'd think that the Browns would end up winning this game because Baker went 12 for 27, 279 yards, 3 touchdowns, and Andy Dalton went 16 for 20 with 190 yards and 1 touchdown. But then you look at the interceptions, and Baker threw 3 compared to Andy Dalton's 1.
See, that's been another big problem with the Browns this year. Is Baker Mayfield making some poor decisions, but again, I think that has to. When you look at the big picture, it's got to stem back from the offensive line. Rushing these throws, he's got. I got to get rid of the ball somehow. Don't want to take a big sack, and sooner or later, it ends up in the other team's hands sometimes. Way too many times this year for Mayfield, and again, they got to fix the offensive line. But if we're going to talk about the Bengals, yes, a very disappointing season under head coach Zach Taylor, but you got to give him another chance.
Yeah.
You can't fire him right away. Andy Dalton has been moved around this year with rookie quarterback Ryan Finley, who has not lived up to any expectation whatsoever. Their number one receiver, A.J. Green, has been hurt all season long. That has been something that has been overlooked, in my opinion, who I don't see him returning to the team next year. The Bengals, they deserve another chance. And you know what? Them locking up the number one pick in the draft, it could be very beneficial because with the way people are talking and with the way he's playing, Joe Burrow is looking very likely that he will be that number one pick. Cincinnati, if you mess this up, I think this is all on you. How could you mess up picking Joe Burrow? I think they should find a franchise quarterback, and hopefully it'll be a start.
Yeah, if I was anyone, give Bengals another chance. But again, if they messed up on picking up Joe Burrow, then it's on them. They're given opportunity right now. They just have to take it.
Definitely, 100% agree with that. All right, you good on this? Anything else you want to touch on for this game?
Yeah, I think I'm good with that game.
All right, I will go to the next game on my list. I'm going to go with this one first. I think this one needs to be talked about. Titans versus Texans. AFC wildcard race is heating up after the Texans beat the Buccaneers in Week 16 to clinch the AFC South. The AFC wildcard race was down to 3 teams going into Week 17. The Tennessee Titans, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Oakland Raiders. The Titans in the easiest scenario win, and you're in. Nothing to worry about. Pittsburgh had to win, and the Titans had to lose, and the Oakland Raiders had a almost insane scenario to make it. But obviously none of those happened because the Tennessee Titans did just that and beat the Houston Texans 35-14. I wasn't sure what to make of this game firsthand because the Titans, obviously, they lost to them in Week 15, and I was a little bit skeptical. But the more I thought about it, this game made perfect sense for the Titans to go in and win because the Titans, obviously playing for their season, they had to give it their all. They had to win. The Texans already clinched the division, pretty much locked up a 3 or 4 seed. They knew that they were going to be playing on Wild Card Weekend, and they rested pretty much all their starters. Deshaun Watson did in fact not play. A.J. McCarron got the nod at QB. They rested a bunch of their other starters as well, and this was a perfect game for the Titans to once again strike. And they played some great ball the second half of the season, and they locked up the number 6 seed in the wild card round. Got to talk about them, though, because they have been absolutely phenomenal the second half of the season after a dismal first half with Marcus Mariota. Derrick Henry won the NFL rushing championship, by the way. I did have him in fantasy, so that is a pretty big plus. But great second half of the season by the Titans to clinch that second wildcard spot. I think that this team could do some damage in the playoffs, possibly. We will see. But Good game for the Titans. And honestly, smart move by the Texans to rest some guys on the wildcard weekend. They, like I said, they knew that they were not getting a first-round bye, so they wanted to put some guys on the bench for rest.
Yeah, for sure. After the Titans started their season, I was like, I don't know if they're going to be a playoff team, especially with that start they had. But like you said, they played an amazing second half, which helped them clinch a wild card spot with this win against the Texans. And it's also good that the Texans rested some guys because this game pretty much meant nothing to them. They already clinched the division. They know they're not getting a bye, so just rest some players for the playoffs to start. And this will be an interesting. Both these teams will be interesting in the playoffs. Texans are. I think the Texans could do pretty good in the playoffs, and then the Titans. It'll be a. It'll be interesting to see how the Titans will end up doing.
Definitely. I think, like I said, a very underlooked and underrated team in the second half of the season, especially after Ryan Tannehill got the nod at QB. I think that the wild card weekend, they are the team to watch. Definitely.
Since Tannehill came on, everything's turned around. Since he's been named the starter for like the second half, everything turned around perfectly for the Titans.
Definitely. 100% agree with that. And I think everyone's eyes, Marcus Mariota's time in Tennessee is officially over. I think he will hit free agency this offseason.
What team do you think he'll go to if he gets put in free agency?
Well, I don't want to get too in-depth with this one because my original prediction was, in fact, my beloved Chicago Bears. But with the Bears firing their offensive coordinator, Mark Helfrich, who was Marcus Mariota's head coach back at Oregon throughout his college career, I don't really see Mariota coming to the Bears now after Helfrich, the big tie he had back to college, is gone. I think Mariota is a shot in the dark for any team. I could honestly, if I would have to take a long shot for this one, I'm going to go with the Colts because they're not really sold on Jacoby Brissett, and he might not be a long-time answer, but he could be about a year. He could be a year or two, like second or tryout guy. Let's see. We'll give you another shot. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah, I could definitely see him going to the Colts. If I had to pick a team, I think it'd definitely be the Colts that Mariota would go to.
Yeah, we will see.
It seems like a lot of teams in the second half had played really good ball. Like a lot of teams have turned things around that maybe you wouldn't consider to being a pretty good team at the start of the season.
Definitely.
It just shows how season goes. Like one half you could do like really bad, and then you turn it around the second half, and oh look, you're in the playoffs now.
For sure.
All right, so for the next game, I want to visit the Bears-Vikings game. The Chicago Bears went 8-8 this season for a 500 campaign, which isn't really what anyone expected from the Bears this season, especially after playing in the wild card last season. And then the Minnesota Vikings went 10-6 this year, and the Bears ultimately won this game 21-19, but boy was it close.
Yeah, last-second field goal by Eddie Pinheiro put them over the top. But again, this had kind of the same effect that the Titans game did earlier. The Vikings, after the Packers beat them in Week 16 on Monday Night Football, and other scenarios panned out the way they did, the Vikings locked themselves into the 6th seed in the playoffs, so they essentially had nothing to try to play for. It was a rest their starters kind of day. Dalvin Cook has been banged up as it is. He did not play. I believe Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen both did not play. Also, Alexander Mattison, the backup running back, and Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins did not play as well. Rest. Backup quarterback Sean Mannion got the nod. I believe this was his second career NFL start. But for the Bears, again, nothing to play for. They just tried to go out and show what they had one more time. Barely beat a string or a team of Vikings backups. Honestly, you guys know we're big Bears fans. Disappointing that they could barely beat a team of backups. I understand the Vikings are good, but this was just kind of a season to forget for the Bears. I know they went 8-8. I know they're not like the Browns or the Bengals or whatever, but after last year and how much hope we had, this was this disastrous season. Offense just not where it needed to be at all. And, I'm glad we're moving to the offseason so we can try and fix some stuff up. But Vikings fans, I think you should be a little bit worried after the two-game slide and heading to New Orleans for the wild card round, which we will preview later. I'd be nervous if I were the Vikings.
Yeah, as a Bears fan, I'm really disappointed in the season, especially since I thought the Bears, this would be like an easy win for them, especially since they're playing the Vikings backups pretty much. But the Bears only ended up winning by 2 points. So that safety did help them in the second quarter. So they won by safety pretty much then. And
yeah, that was a difference maker.
It was
4 field and 1 touchdown for each team, and then the safety put the Bears on top.
Yeah, if they didn't get that safety, it would have been a whole different game. Maybe we would have been sitting here with the Vikings winning with their backups.
Yeah, could have. If that safety didn't happen, we could think 19-19 overtime.
And that could be a whole different story. But the Bears won overall, so at least it's good to end the season, especially with the way how the season ended with Eddie Pinheiro kicking that field goal, and unlike last year where Cody Parkey double doinked and ended the Bears' postseason hopes.
I still think about that day and that moment, and I try to forget it as much as possible. But, as a Bears fan, you don't really get to see them in the playoffs a whole lot. In fact, last year was their first playoff appearance in 2011. So obviously, my family and I were so excited. And when that kick happened, I remember I fell to my knees and my hands were on my head in disbelief. And for about 3 or 4 minutes, I didn't move because I was just so shocked.
Yeah.
But like I said, as a Bears fan, those moments, they don't really come a whole lot. And, this season, like I said, after what a great turnaround Matt Nagy led the team to in their first year, very disappointing, especially on the offensive side this year. Defense was strong again, but did not produce the turnovers that they had in last year. And since the offense just was not producing at all, they were stuck on the field because the offense was out so quick. They were getting gassed by the other offenses because the defense was just – they weren't at the top of their game because, like I said, offenses were just 1, 2, 3 off the field.
Yeah.
But still top 10 in a lot of major stats. So for people who want to hate on the Bears defense, I think that's wrong.
Yeah. It's been bittersweet, but the Bears just got to do better. They got to do better next season. They got to figure all their stuff out and hopefully come in next year with a stronger team.
For sure. We good. We're good on this one. We can move on. All right. Let's see. I think this is the next one I'm going to go to. I'm going to go to the Eagles and the Giants. It was another game that got moved to 4:25 Eastern, because after last week's victory over the Dallas Cowboys, the Eagles took sole possession of the NFC East and extended it. And they put it away this week. All they needed to do was beat the Giants, and they clinched the division, the NFC East, and a playoff spot, and they did just that. No troubles whatsoever, 34-17. The Eagles, arguably in the worst division in football, went 9-7, won the division. Nobody should be proud of that, but they're in the playoffs, so they got something to be proud of.
I'm honestly surprised with these 9-7 teams winning their division. You don't see that often. You don't see that in years. It's weird. It's weird to see.
It's a couple. Yeah, it's not totally rare, but it does happen. And this year, it was the Eagles, the NFC East. Like I said, easily the worst division in football, the lowest win percentage out of all the teams, and the Eagles took it.
Yeah. Again, I was expecting the Eagles to win this game. since the Giants are 4-12, but
Yeah.
like the Eagles are in the playoffs, so like it doesn't really matter what their record is because you're in the postseason, so it doesn't matter because you're in the postseason, and that's all that the regular season is played for is for the seed and for the postseason.
You will
So
get criticized. You will get criticized for how your record is. I mean, obviously, people are going to say the Eagles are undeserving and the playoff format is rigged, but I don't know. Can't really. I don't really know who to necessarily blame the situation. Just the Eagles are that team this year.
yeah, I don't think there's anyone to blame for it, but you're just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what your record is. You know, you will get criticized for what the record is, but you're still in the playoffs, so it doesn't really matter. But you just have to see how they're going to do first round.
Yeah, more to come on those predictions later.
Are you have anything else to say about that game?
Yeah, the only other thing I want to touch on is I did not expect the Eagles to come out on top in that division. If anything, I thought the Cowboys were the most talented team. The Eagles were extremely banged up this year. And for them to come out on top of that division with more injuries than I think anyone in the league has this year is pretty interesting. Pretty disappointing for the Cowboys, obviously. Very disappointing with all that talent they had. But Philly, despite all the injuries, despite all the chaos, they found a way, and they're in the playoffs. So we'll see if that 9-7 is just a mirage and they can pull off something in the wild card round.
Hey, it's not impossible. Anything could happen in the postseason.
Exactly.
I want to go to the same division team, Dallas Cowboys against Washington Redskins. Cowboys went 8-8 in that division, and the Redskins went 3-13. And the Cowboys blew out the Washington Redskins 47-16. That was a high-scoring game. I would not expect that from the Cowboys.
I could definitely see it coming. Their offense is high profile, a lot of talent. Kellen Moore, young offensive coordinator. I didn't really expect it to come this late, but given the fact that, I mean, the Redskins don't have anything to play for, Dallas is trying their best to get back in the division. I mean, I could, I guess, sort of see it, but this was the most points the Cowboys have scored all season long, and in the end, it doesn't matter one bit because the Eagles won, and Cowboys are eliminated if the Eagles won, and that is what happened. So even though they scored a season high in offensive points, it does not matter in the slightest bit because Philadelphia took care of business.
Yeah, just like you were expecting, I would expect the Cowboys to win that division, but how everything planned out, it was not how everyone expected it to go. And then looking at the stats for this game, Dak Prescott had a pretty good game. 23 for 33, 303 yards, and threw for 4 touchdowns. But I'm not really surprised by that since Dak's a really good quarterback, and I'd expect him to throw that pretty much every game. Maybe not like 4 touchdowns, but like over 300 yards.
Yeah, Dak Prescott is a very good quarterback. I won't be surprised if the Cowboys pay him a solid contract next year. They always have some cap space, so I think out of the next duo that we talk about with getting extensions this year and next year, I think Dak Prescott will certainly be the next guy to get extended. He's put up some great numbers.
He deserves it too.
He'll get recognized.
Yeah,
I
sure.
don't think I could say the same thing about Amari Cooper. I think he will be testing free agency, but I think Dak Prescott is certainly not going to go anywhere. I think the Cowboys will ink him up.
Yeah, for sure. And then for rushing, Ezekiel Elliott went for 122 yards and a touchdown. Tony Pollard, 60 yards in that game. Dak Prescott rushed for 35 yards, and then Amari Cooper rushed for 6 yards. So not bad for the rushing for the rushing yards.
Nah, but again, like I said before, despite all the offensive overload, does not matter in the slightest bit because Philadelphia took care of business.
Yeah.
Big picture, playoffs. Did that big picture happen for the Cowboys?
Nope.
It did not.
I'm done with that game if you want to go on.
All right. I think I don't know if I should really I'm going to do a very very quick analysis on it. I'm going to touch up on the Packers and the Lions a little bit. The Packers. I know I'm trying to be the most non-biased Bears fan that I could be here, but the Green Bay Packers, I think we have to talk about them being the number 2 seed in 13-3. They've won a lot of close games this year against not good opponents, and this one was another one.
A win's a win. Doesn't really matter how.
Detroit Lions 3-12-1. They led the whole game until the final seconds when Green Bay kicked that field goal. And I saw something that was extremely interesting. The Green Bay Packers this season against the Detroit Lions have led for a total of 0 minutes and 0 seconds, but won both games. So you know what that means? They had to kick a field goal and come back both times. And just other games, too, that the Packers have just not looked – they haven't looked like an elite team. And I feel like even though they're sitting at 13-3 and they're leading the division, I don't think they're as strong as everyone thinks. Aaron Rodgers hasn't had a superstar-type season. I think the real
– He still had a pretty good year, though.
I think the real weapon on offense for the Packers is Aaron Jones. That guy has been insane with rushing touchdowns this season. Rodgers hasn't put up quite the numbers that people expect him to. The Packers' defense is starting to play a lot better. Preston and Zadarius Smith have been really, really good edge rushers for the Packers, but the offense hasn't been producing as much as it should because Matt LaFleur, offensive-minded head coach, you could say solid, especially first year. I mean, obviously 13-3 division points. But I think the Packers, they're not as great as everyone thinks they are, and I think they might be in some trouble come divisional round week. They got some time to prepare and rest, but I think based on a lot of these performances that we've seen this season, and especially those two that ran against the Lions, it's a way to be concerned because you're supposed to take care of business on those not so great teams, and they did just the opposite of that. They barely squeaked by them, especially with the Redskins too. They barely beat the Redskins. The Redskins had a chance to win that game in the final minute.
Yeah, for sure. But overall, I expect the Packers to win this game. I expect them to be a little more high scoring or low scoring for the Lions. But Packers still came up with a win, so that's all that matters. All that matters is the season is seeding for the postseason. The Packers obviously went 13-3, so they had a pretty good year. Even though they may have not played the best teams, they don't ask how you won. They ask how many games you won and what place you're in. And Packers 13-3, first place in the division. I'd say they had a pretty good year. Aaron Rodgers had a pretty good year. He didn't have the best year, but it's still a pretty solid year for him. But I agree with Aaron Jones. He's for rushing, for the amount of rushing touchdowns he's had an amazing year, I'd say. And then in this game, Davante Adams went for 93 yards for receiving and a touchdown. So Davante Adams has been doing pretty good so far in the season. Well, wonder how they're going to do in the playoffs. That's going to be a situation that I don't know how they're going to do, but I think they could squeak through the divisional round, and we'll see how they do in the next next playoff round.
Yeah, we will see.
Is there any more games you want to go through?
As far as Week 17, I'm good with that.
All right, yeah, I am too. Overall, how do you think the NFL season went? Looking through Week 1 through 17, and like how like everything ended up. How do you think that all went?
Overall, I think there's always going to be unexpected stuff happening. So honestly, I'm going to leave it open-ended and say unexpected because every year you're going to get your expected stuff with most likely New England and all of them being really good. But you're also going to get some teams and scenarios and players that break out and have great years you don't see coming. And that's just the beauty of the NFL is it's all up for grabs. And that's why they say you got to play it. You got to play it out. You can't just assume. And like I said, this year, there were teams that kind of came out of nowhere that I said, whoa, they're making a run for it. And then the other teams were where I was like, wow, what happened to them? I think that's just the beauty of the NFL. And I think that unexpected is a great word to put because you're always going to get some scenarios and teams and players that – like I said, break out and either don't show up. And it makes it a fun season because then you're like, ooh, what could happen in this interesting game? The scenarios are always so out of the blue. It's never easy to predict.
Yeah, for sure. If I was looking at this at the beginning of the year, especially the standings, I would definitely I'd be surprised. Like I'm very surprised how the season went. Like I expected some of the things to happen, but I also expected some of the other outcomes to not happen that happened. So it's pretty interesting season, pretty surprising season, especially with like teams like the Browns, Bengals, and all those teams, Bears, Packers. It was a surprising season for all those teams. Because I don't think anyone quite expected what happened, but that, like you said, that's the beauty of the game. And I'm gonna just go through all the standings really quick, like the teams, see how we thought they were gonna do beginning of the season, how they are now. So the Patriots are 12-4. They won their division. Bills 10-6. They clinched a playoff spot or clinched a wild card. Jets 7-9, Dolphins 5-11 in the AFC East. In the AFC West, in the West, it was the Chiefs at 12-4. I did not really expect that, I would say, and they clinched the division. Broncos went 7-9, Raiders 7-9, Chargers 5-11. AFC North, Ravens 14-2. I also did not really expect that. Ravens had a heck of a season though, and they won their division. Steelers 8-8, finished at 500. Browns 6-10, did not expect that. Bengals 2-14, did not expect that. And then the AFC East or AFC South, my bad. Texans 10-6, clinched the division. Titans 9-7, clinched a wild card spot. Colts 7-9, and then Jaguars 6-10, and that'll do it for the AFC. The NFC, in the NFC East, the Eagles went 9-7, won their division. Cowboys finished at 500 at 8-8. Giants 4-12, Redskins 3-13. NFC West, 49ers 13-3, Seahawks 11-5, Rams 9-7. Cardinals 5-10-1. NFC North, Packers went 13-3 and won the division. Vikings 10-6, clinch a wild card spot. Bears finished at 500 at 8-8. Lions 3-12-1. And then the NFC South finally. The Saints were 13-3. Falcons 7-9. The Bucks were 7-9. The Panthers went 5-11. There's a lot of 13-3 teams that ended up winning the division, especially in the NFC. So that was quite interesting. And then there was a bunch of teams that went 12-4, Patriots and Chiefs in the AFC, and then obviously Ravens went 14-2, and then the Texans and went 10-6. So I did not really expect all those standings and like how the records lined up from now into what I thought at the beginning of the season. We're gonna have to revisit what we thought about at the beginning of the season, see how these teams compare for sure.
Yeah, I've taken periodic looks at my sheet, and I try to look away as best as possible because a lot of them are extremely off, and I'm like, why in the world did I pick that?
Yeah, for sure. I'm the same way. I did not expect a lot of this, but ended up playing out in the team's favor.
Yeah.
So overall, surprising and interesting season for the NFL. So you want to get into playoff predictions now?
Yes, sir. I've been waiting all day.
Let's go.
It's pretty fitting. Wild card round starts tomorrow. I think we're just going to go through each game individual. We'll start with tomorrow, 3:35 Central Time. The number 5 Buffalo Bills take on the number 4 Houston Texans. Each team comes in at 10-6. This is the one and only game where both teams have the same exact record. Houston at home for this one. I'll be honest. I think this is an interesting game. Defense, I think, is the key for Buffalo, and I think it's the opposite for Houston. I think production out of your star quarterback in Deshaun Watson and your star receiver, especially in DeAndre Hopkins, they have to come up. This is a tough one because both of these teams, they're underrated, and they can make a little bit of noise. I think I'm going to go with this. This is going to be a little bit of a low-scoring affair, but I think ultimately, this game could go either way, but I'm going to ride with the upset here. I'm going with the Bills in this one in a close one. I think the Bills' defense is going to come up in the clutch yet again, and the Texans have not had a whole lot of luck in terms of playoffs. And I think the Buffalo Bills are going to go into Houston and upset the Texans.
Yeah, I also agree with that. I know we talked about all these predictions on New Year's Eve, so we have some of the same ones, but we also have some different ones. So it's going to be interesting. But I think the Bills are going to come up on top over the Texans in tomorrow's wild card matchup. I think the Bills defense will be strong, and it'll hold the Texans a lot. But overall, I think it's going to come down to a field goal to win the game. I think the last few seconds, a field goal is going to come in clutch and overall win this game.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting one. Next one, though, the other AFC matchup on Saturday, 7:15, the number 6 seed Tennessee Titans at 9-7 go to Foxborough to take on the number 3 seed. For the first time since 2009, the New England Patriots are playing on Wild Card Weekend at 12-4. Number 3 seed, Foxborough, night game. This is tough, not going to lie. We know the Patriots can turn it around come playoff time. For example, last year, and I don't know, however many years they won the Super Bowl. You can say that about the Patriots anytime. And this is no different. They're in a little bit of a slump right now, just a little bit. Did not end the season on that high note like they started the regular season on. And you can never count them out in the playoffs, and especially at home. Wild card weekend, though, this will be interesting. How will this team treat this Titans team that has been on a surge lately? I think it's going to be a close game. I think, like I said, Tennessee is playing some really, really good football right now. Patriots defense has not looked as sharp as they had the last couple weeks. And you know what? I'm going go big or go home again. This is not coming because I am not a Patriots fan. I honestly think the Tennessee Titans will upset the Patriots at home. I don't really see the Patriots clicking on offense right now. They have a lot of questionable injuries, and they haven't shown any sign of all around clicking. The defense isn't the same, and I think the Titans are starting to play the best football at the right time. I think the Titans are going to win this game.
I could respect that, but I'm gonna go opposite of you. I'm going the Patriots are gonna come up on top over the Titans. Even though the Patriots ended up on a low note, I believe that they're gonna turn this thing around like they do in the playoffs. Every single year they're in the playoffs. And like it's literally just like they cruise through the regular season, and then when it come playoff time, they turn up everything a notch. And they play really good ball in the postseason. So I'm going to stick with that. Patriots are going to play really good ball tomorrow, and Patriots are going to take down Tennessee Titans and move on to the divisional round.
Yeah, let's go to the next game. 12:05 on Sunday. Number 6, Minnesota Vikings at 10-6 go to the Big Easy and play the number 3 seed, the New Orleans Saints, at 13-3. This is probably one of the easier ones. These NFC ones are not as easy to decide for me, or not as hard to decide for me as the AFC ones. I think this one is not going to be a very close game. I think the Saints are going to win, no doubt about it. The Vikings are in a little bit of a slump right now, and I think the Saints are starting to play the best football at the right time. I think the Saints are going to be a team to watch out for in the NFC, and I think the Vikings, like I said, they're in a little bit of a slump right now, but I don't see them going into New Orleans and beating the Saints.
Yeah, I also got the Saints winning against the Vikings. It just seems that Drew Brees is a postseason quarterback. I don't know why, but I think he's going to turn up a notch, and I think the Saints are going to play really well, and their defense is going to shut down the Vikings, and it's not going to be that close of a game at all.
No, I agree with that. And last but not least, 3:40 Central Time on NBC, the number 5 Seattle Seahawks at 11-5 take on the questionable NFC East champions, the Philadelphia Eagles, at 9-7, the number 4 seed.
Well, this is an easy one. This is an easy one.
Yeah, you won the division. Good for you. Not that great of a record. Now you go to the playoffs and you got to take on a interesting Seattle team, to say the least. You know what? I'm picking the Seahawks in this one. I don't think, you know what, this is not much of a...
Is this even a question?
You know what? There's two sides to that. I don't really think this is a big question of who's going to win, but as far as close game-wise, I actually will think this will be a close game because the Seahawks are another team that has had a lot of games come down to at least one possession. I think that's just they grit out games. When the games they win are one possession, close games. And I think it's going to be a sloppy offensive performance by each team. I think Philly will hang around due to the fact that they have home field advantage, but I think the Seahawks are the better team. They're going to win by about a possession. I'd say about 5 to 8 points. The Seahawks are going to win. I don't think it's going to be a blowout, but I think it'll be a close game. But as far as winning-wise, no, I don't think the Eagles will win this game, but I will say it will be close.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a blowout either, but I think the Seahawks are going to win this game over the Eagles. And I said they're going to win by 9 to 12 points. And I just believe that Russell Wilson is going to he's also a pretty good quarterback for come playoff time, so that helps. And I think that the Eagles will hold on, I believe, since they're playing at home. I believe they'll – what?
Oh, no, never mind.
I believe the Eagles, they will hold on for a little bit, especially since they're home field advantage. But overall, I'm gonna give it to the Seahawks by 9 to 12 points.
Yeah, we'll see. We got almost the same predictions. We'll see what happens come tomorrow.
It's gonna be a fun postseason for the NFL.
For sure.
Yes. Is there anything else you would like to talk about?
No, I think we got everything.
This was a fun episode to start off 2020 with.
Yeah, we just got to keep it consistent and do an NFL divisional round show next week.
We will for sure.
Definitely college football too, because the national championship is right around the corner.
We will definitely do that too. We'll expect more episodes to come out very soon, and we'll be a lot more consistent too.
Yeah, definitely.
We'd like to thank everyone for sticking around and listening to all of our episodes, and for all of you who are subscribed, thank you. For anyone who's watching who's not subscribed, please comment, like, and subscribe. It'll mean a lot to us. Comment on different episodes that you want us to do, different stuff you want us to do. We're up to anything, so just comment below, and we'll try to get it figured out. If you have someone who you want us to interview, put in the comments. We'll try to get them to come on. And also follow us on Instagram at @on_the_spot_sports. So on the spot sports with underscores separating each word. So that's where we update our content. We have notifications for whenever we post. We post a lot on our story. So follow us there. Send us a message. Anything. We really appreciate you guys, and we can't wait to post more content for 2020, and this will be a good year. We hope you guys enjoyed this episode. So this will do it. So thank you guys for watching. See you guys.